Stimulus checks are being approved. Here's what you need to know. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are being urged by lawmakers to now take executive action and end the filibuster. Inflation is also emerging as the top economic challenge for Americans in 2022. And Democrats who need to curtail the Senate filibuster if they aim to pass the voting rights bill and other priorities next. And the party's top leaders are encouraging them to just do that. But the effort is far from guaranteed to prevail, with President Biden's role still in doubt, and if it succeeds, may come back to bite the party after a year or two down the road. Biden told ABC News, if the only thing standing between getting voter rights bills passed and not getting passed is the filibuster, I support making the exception of voting rights for the filibuster. Kamala Harris also added in a weekend interview that the United States risking losing its status as a role model for democracy without new federal election laws. The party has introduced 2 new bills, and Democrats are saying that they need to expand the voting rights. So, with all 50 Senate Republicans opposed to the bill, viewing them as a federal takeover, Democrats will need a 215-year procedure to get them to the president's desk. The filibuster requires 60 votes to end debate on the most bills, but preventing legislation from being passed by a simple majority. Thus, some Democrats are now calling for changing or eliminating the filibuster in order to get laws passed with just 51 votes. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has indicated that he will take up the voting rights next week. And there are a number of options for Democrats, though none of them truly amount to a one-time exception. The simplest way would be to charge the text of Senate Rule 22, the rule requiring 60 votes to end the debate. A more likely scenario would involve creating a new Senate president. Now, strong consumer demand, continuing supply chain troubles, and the emergence of the crisis threaten to prolong sharply rising prices well into 2022. Prices defied many economists' expectations in 2021 by rising at the fastest pace in nearly 40 years. Everything from rent to the price of used cars and groceries has all risen incredibly. That caused pain for consumers, eating the sizable wage gains, and it also caused headaches for the Federal Reserve, which had forecast much less inflation. The price of seafood will probably continue to rise because of so much of it is imported via air and ship, and pasta prices may surge due to the weakest durum wheat harvest since the 1960s. Everybody, President Biden must get the bills passed, and President Biden must send out more stimulus checks before the end of the year. And if you guys agree that it must be done sooner than later, tell me in the comments down below. Thank you again for your support, and until next time, have a very great day.
For his ongoing leadership to bring this important legislation to the floor, and to the work of the Rules Committee on the ongoing to make sure that we have the right discussion on the floor to meet the needs of the American people. Mr. Speaker, multiple times now, the Democratic House has taken action to honor our responsibility to address the priority of the debt limit. We have done so because this is about protecting families. The failure to lift the debt limit could result in the loss of up to 6 million jobs, the elimination of $15 trillion in household wealth, and drastic increase in the cost of loans, car loans, mortgages, student loans, credit card bills, and other borrowing. Our action also protects the American economy. So when we say domestic economy, we're talking domestic, we're talking kitchen table when we talk about car loans, mortgages, student loans, credit card bills, et cetera, as well as jobs and trillions of dollars in household wealth. In terms of the domestic economy writ large, our action protects the economy, preventing a decline in the real GDP of up to 4%, a surge in the unemployment rate, as I mentioned, and what J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon called, quote, a catastrophe of unbelievable proportions and damage to America for up to 100 years. Up to 100 years. This is also about the health of the global economy, kitchen table, broader domestic, national economy, the global economy. The Council of Economic Advisors has stated, a default would send shockwaves through global financial markets and would likely cause credit markets worldwide to freeze up and stock markets to plunge. Employers around the world would likely have to begin laying off workers. Goes on to say the 2008 financial crisis had ripple effects throughout the global economy that ricocheted back to the U.S. shores, causing firms to lay off workers, here we are again, and cut private investment. A financial crisis driven by a default has the potential to be even worse, in addition to hitting a global economy not fully recovered from the pandemic. Addressing the debt limit honors our duty to the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, Section 4 states, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law shall not be questioned. So my question, Mr. Speaker, to you is, and to our colleagues, what is it that they have against families when they want to increase unemployment, decrease household wealth, and have families be charged more for car loans, credit card loans, mortgage payments, and other borrowing? Don't you care about that? What do you have against our own economy, where this catastrophe of unbelievable proportions could have impacts for over 100 years? Don't you care about that? Also, the health of the global economy, which I described so clearly, causing credit markets worldwide to freeze up and stock markets to plunge, and employers around the world have to begin laying off workers. Again, coming back to our shores. Certainly, you have respect for the Constitution of the United States, to which we take an oath to protect and defend, which states the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized laws shall not be questioned. Let us be clear about what this means. Addressing the debt limit is not about future spending, as some have tried to represent. This is about meeting obligations that the government has already incurred, including from the bipartisan COVID relief legislation passed last year. Only 3% of the current debt that we're addressing here has been incurred during the Biden years. Under President Biden, 3% of what we're talking about here. We're talking about the Trump debt incurred, and some of it in a bipartisan way, to address the COVID crisis. Not all, though. We were not complicit in the Republican tax scam to give 83% of benefits to the top 1% in our country, adding about $2 trillion that we have to cover here now. Let us remember this should not be controversial. The debt limit has been a long-time bipartisan issue. Congress also has passed the debt limit 78 times since 1960.